This is a quick demo of our app Wend. Wend is a development and a runtime environment for building location-based games and apps on mobile devices. Right now, we're looking at the runtime environment. It's taking place in Washington, D.C., right by my house. But it's context aware, so if it were running in some other location, it would work just fine. If I touch my icon, I pull up a couple buttons, spiders and dragonflies, and I'm going to go ahead and drop some of them onto the map right around my location. And you can see that they immediately start to move. They have their own behaviors, their own memories. They interact with the map and the world with real people and virtual entities on their own according to behaviors I've given them in the development environment. You can see that the spiders follow the roads because they are land-based creatures, and that's the behavior I gave them, and the dragonflies fly around. If a dragonfly happens to fly too close to a web, they will end up getting caught in the web, and the spider will come around and eat them. Um, and that's the gist of this simulation. There's not too much to it, but we just wanted to give you a sense of what one could do. So now let's go back and look at the development environment where this particular simulation was created. So we can see here that we have a group of entities that populate the simulation. We have spiders, we have dragonflies, we have webs. And if we drill into a particular entity, we can see the set of attributes and behaviors that are associated with it. So if we look at the behaviors that are associated with the spider, he can make a web, he can walk around randomly. We have sort of a standard set of behaviors called born, live, and die. And this every entity is running what's called a behavior tree, which is a artificial intelligence runtime that we built. So if we look at the spider's behaviors, for instance, let's look at his web behavior, and we'll drill into the behavior tree here. We can see that a fairly small set of commands can constitute a fairly complex set of behaviors in the app. And we can drill into each of these commands. Compare, for instance, is a conditional. It's essentially an if-then in this case. And we can look at the details of it. And it has inputs and outputs and operators. And in each of these cases, we can bind things. So we can bind fixed static values like we would for an operator, or if we're binding an input, we can bind very dynamic types. We can bind static types, but we can also bind dynamic types like attributes that are associated with the entity, or local variables or parameters that are associated with this behavior. So this is all done on the mobile device. And in this way, through a touch-based environment and visually, people can very quickly assign very complex behaviors to construct location-based apps.